Welcome to Parenting Your Sensitive Child. Parenting a highly sensitive child can feel overwhelming, and all the parenting books in the world can only get you so far if your head and your heart are out of alignment with your child's. I'm your host, Julia McGarry. Let's create a new parenting paradigm. Hey y'all. I want to share a couple of questions with you today that are going to help you reframe your thinking when your child is being aggressive, rude, disrespectful, destructive, or willfully defiant. Because the minute you peg their behavior as negative, you start looking for ways to shut it down, and two things can happen. They either escalate and the situation gets worse before it gets better, or they shut down and close off a part of themselves. Either way, it's actively disconnecting you from your child. But sometimes these moments are so triggering, right? The first step always is to start to notice when you're getting triggered and take a step back to regulate yourself. If you are skipping this part, this is your work. But when you're able to do this, when you start to be able to recognize that you're getting triggered because it seems like they're doing this on purpose, I want you to take a moment when you step back to ask yourself these questions. First, if I knew they couldn't help it, how would I respond? If you knew they couldn't help what they were doing, if you knew there was a reason that this was happening beyond them just being mean or rude or aggressive, right? You would try to figure out what the actual problem was, wouldn't you? If you knew that they tend to melt down when there's too much sensory input, for example, you'd start looking for the layers of input you could remove. You'd work on helping them get rid of the obstacles to self-regulation that are keeping them stuck in aggressive or destructive zone rather than just telling them to get it together, right? If you knew they couldn't help it, you'd be much more willing to help. So when you notice yourself reacting to them as though they were doing it on purpose, this is the time to ask yourself this question. Because here's the thing. It is very, very rare that kids are deliberately trying to cause pain. It might seem like that if their nervous system is activated and they're in a fight response because they know your pain points, but they're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to protect themselves. It might seem like it if they appear to be retaliating or taking hurtful action to get what they want. If they're saying, well, if you won't let me, I'm just going to punch you. But it's a sign that they either don't have or don't currently have access to better tools to solve their problems. And it could be a sign that they just don't feel heard and they're trying to make themselves heard. It might seem like it if they're shouting at you, being demanding, and refusing to use a respectful tone of voice or respectful language. But it's, again, more likely that they're finding it difficult to clearly articulate what's going on, and they're getting overwhelmed. If you knew this, if you knew that they couldn't get out of this on their own, you could step back and try to identify what's actually driving them. They are not just doing it to be rude. Okay, that leads into the second question you can ask yourself, and that is, what are they hoping to gain here? Sometimes they don't have an agenda, but sometimes if you stop and think about it, it's pretty clear. They need a little space to regroup. They want to finish what they're building, or find a save point in a video game. Some kids are really good at communicating things like this verbally, but some kids aren't. Sometimes they growl, throw things, or have meltdowns when they don't get their way. I wish you could see my air quotes. If your child is melting down because they aren't getting their way, see if you can identify what their way is. And then see if you can recognize if they are getting their way by doing the things that they're doing. Does this meltdown get their siblings out of their space? Does it get them a little bit of extra screen time because you don't want to rock the boat? What are they getting out of all of this? And how can you help them get that without having to escalate things so far? Our instinct is to revoke privileges when they act out in these ways, but you tell me if that's been working. If you look instead at what they're actually getting out of the situation or what they actually need but can't articulate, you can identify it for them. It seems like you want a little more game time. Would 5 minutes be enough to finish this level? It seems like you need some space from your sister. I'm going to take her out of the room and see if that helps you. If you can identify what they're vying for or ineffectively self-advocating for, you can work with that. You can find a compromise. You can meet the need without them needing to escalate. You can cut off the behavior at the pass, and you can work with them on the communication skills, the self-regulation skills, the problem-solving skills that they need to get through that more effectively at a later point in time. You can revisit the situation and say, that seemed hard. Next time you can just say, I need space, and I'll come help you. Or next time you can tell me, I'm almost at the end of this level. Can I finish it? And I'll work with you. Or you can say, I'm frustrated, or I don't know what to do. You can coach them on more effective ways to handle similar situations. But that's a lot harder to do if you're trying to shut down the behavior or punish it away. Punishments don't teach skills. But if you can read between the lines and interpret their actions as communication, you can help them communicate more effectively. All right? I hope this episode is helpful for you. I hope it's relevant this week, and I hope you have a wonderful week. I will talk to you in the next episode. Do you feel like you're parenting 24/7 and you're still not sure your child is getting what they need? Are you ready to stop parenting reactively and start living in partnership with your sensitive child? Are you ready to reclaim time for yourself and time for your dreams? Then you're going to want to explore coaching with me. I help my clients tune out all the noise, better understand their kids, build a parenting strategy that meets their family's specific needs, and do the mindset work necessary to implement that strategy consistently without sacrificing themselves in the process. To get started, just head over to partnerpath.com, click on coaching, and get your free consultation set up. Let's get to know each other.